Alright, guys, I'm back with another chapter in Numbers. We're in Numbers chapter 35, where the header reads, Towns for the Levites. And we'll get right into it. While Israel was camped beside the Jordan on the plains of Moab, across from Jericho, the Lord said to Moses, Command the people of Israel to give the Levites from their property certain towns to live in, along with the surrounding pasture lands. These towns will be for the... Lose my mind a little bit. Long day. These towns will be for the Levites to live in, and the surrounding lands will provide pasture for their cattle, flocks, and other livestock. The pasture land assigned to the Levites around these towns will extend 1,500 feet or 1,500 feet from the town walls in every direction. Measure off 3,000 feet outside the town walls in every direction, east, south, west, and north, with the town at the center. This area will serve as the larger pasture land for the towns. Six of the towns you give the Levites will be cities of refuge, where a person who has accidentally killed someone can flee for safety. In addition, give them 42 other towns. Yeah, that's correct. Give them 42 other towns. In all, 48 towns with the surrounding pasture land will be given to the Levites. These towns will come from the property of the people of Israel. The larger tribes will give more towns to the Levites, while the smaller tribes will give fewer. Each tribe will give property in proportion to the size of its land. The Lord said to Moses, Give the following instructions to the people of Israel. When you cross the Jordan into the land of Canaan, designate cities of refuge to which people can flee if they have killed someone accidentally. These cities will be places of protection from a dead person's relatives who want to avenge the death. The slayer must not be put to death before being tried by the community. Designate 6 cities of refuge for yourselves, 3 on the east side of the Jordan River and 3 on the west side in the land of Canaan. These cities are for the protection of Israelites, foreigners living among you, and traveling merchants. Anyone who accidentally kills someone may flee there for safety. But if someone strikes and kills another person with a piece of iron, it is murder, and the murderer must be executed. Or if someone with a stone in his hand strikes and kills another person, it is murder, and the murderer must be put to death. Or if someone strikes and kills another person with a wooden object, it is murder, and the murderer must be put to death. The victim's nearest relative is responsible for putting the murderer to death. When they meet, the avenger must put the murderer to death. So if someone hates another person and waits in ambush, then pushes him or throws something at him and he dies, it is murder. Or if someone hates another person and hits him with a fist and he dies, it is murder. In such cases, the avenger must put the murderer. Let me rephrase that. In such cases, the avenger must put the murderer to death when they meet. But suppose someone pushes another person without having shown previous hostility, or throws something that unintentionally hits another person, or accidentally drops a huge stone on someone. Though they were not enemies and the person dies, if this should happen, the community must follow these regulations in making a judgment between the slayer and the avenger, the victim's nearest relative. The community must protect the slayer from the avenger and must escort the slayer back to live in the city of refuge to which he fled. There he must remain until death of the high priest, who was anointed with the sacred oil. But if the slayer ever leaves the limits of the city of refuge, and the avenger finds him outside the city and kills him, it will not be considered murder. The slayer should have stayed inside the city of refuge until the death of the high priest. But after the death of the high priest, the slayer may return to his own property. These are legal requirements for you to observe from generation to generation wherever you may live. All murderers must be put to death, but only if evidence is presented by more than one witness. No one may be put to death on the testimony of only one witness. Also, you must never accept a ransom payment for the life of someone judged guilty of murder and subject to execution. Murderers must always be put to death, and never accept a ransom payment from someone who has fled to a city of refuge. Allowing a slayer to return to his property before the death of the high priest. This will ensure that the land where you live will not will not be polluted, for murder pollutes the land. And no sacrifice except the execution of the murderer can purify the land from murder. You must not defile the land where you live, for I live there myself. I am the Lord who lives among the people of Israel. Well, that's the end of chapter 35. There's only one more chapter in Numbers, and there'll be 36, and then I will move on to, I think I've already done Deuteronomy. And so I'm going to start bouncing around some chapters, and I'm really getting close to almost being halfway done, which is actually pretty crazy. I'm actually really enjoying this this journey and this fellowship that I'm kind of been moving a lot around on. I think it's super interesting. I don't know how many, and I know I mentioned it back then. You know, when there weren't large vehicles and there were animals and certain things like that, how often did someone accidentally die that was brought upon by somebody else? Like, I get if someone falls off a cliff or, you know, gets sick or something, but like, to murder accidentally without the tools and things that we have today, like, I think probably the most common accidental death now is automobile accidents. Outside of that, I mean, it's going to be involved in some type of heavy machinery or something like that. You know, I know that they say heavy stone or throwing rock, or I just can't imagine too many accidental deaths happening. But that's just me. Maybe I don't have a good understanding of that. Maybe I don't really recognize or understand how many accidental deaths we might have today. I have no idea. But to see that, I don't know, the process, that eye for an eye, they say, no, if someone murders somebody, it has to be purged. It's like a cancer. Say, no, it will pollute the land in which it is allowed to exist. It makes me wonder, because I think that we have so much of that now. And especially when it says, hey, if there's more than one witness, I mean, how many people would be put to death if we enacted that in our own country? I gotta imagine it's quite a few. How many people are in jail for the murder of somebody else, and there's been more than one person to witness it or evidence to say so? But then there's so much power or authority in that, to know that you could be put to death. And I mean, and that's coming from someone who, I don't have ill intent, you know, so to say that someone, oh, hey, no, he did it, and if they have two witnesses or two people willing to say that you did that, you could be put to death. It's kind of scary. But maybe that's only scary because I'm an honest person, and I wouldn't worry, or maybe I'm worried about other people not being as honest as they should be. But I just love the fact that there's so much thought put into it. They say, hey, no, this is the definition of murder. We understand that this happens out of frustration, a balled up fist, some type of weapon. Nope, that's murder. But hey, accidents happen. Just the level of accident, though, in this, it's amazing that this book, thousands of years old, still has such practical application, that some of our best laws and some of how we continue to govern ourselves today is enacted in this. And it's just such a good book. Like, it truly is the truth, which is crazy to think that it's been written thousands of years ago with the intention for us to write, not to us to write it, but for us to read it and listen to it, because it's directions from our Father for success, no less. Not like to our detriment or to, you know, break your heart or anything like that, although sometimes there can be some pretty strong feelings wrapped up into some of the readings that the Bible kind of unveils as you continue down the whole journey of really what it is. It's our story. But no, I don't know. The particulars of the murder and the response to it, I mean, it's good information as far as wanting a just and not vengeful or spiteful society, even though they do reference, and there is an avenger of the one who's murdered. But I just think it's so crazy that this one book goes over so much stuff that helps us just even today, which blows my mind. Transcends time. But on that note, have a good night. God bless. I love you. Jesus loves you. And I'll be back for the last chapter of Numbers, chapter 36, where the header reads, Women Who Inherit Property. And on that note, have a good night and God bless, guys. I'll see you tomorrow for chapter 36. Night.